So you find a house that you absolutely love. You can't wait to put an offer in on it. So you call the listing agent. You say, hey, listing agent, I want to put an offer on this house. Maybe I can get a deal because I don't have an agent. And the seller can therefore save on commission and not have to pay the buyer agent. And you know what? That is quite possibly the worst idea I have ever heard. So let's figure out why. If we go back in time, back to the 90s, well, there was no such thing as a cooperating representation. And guess what? Things were going wrong in these transactions, as they usually do. And so what was happening was things were ending up in court. And as they were ending up in court, the buyer was not winning. The seller was winning. Why? Because the listing agent works for the seller, not for the buyer. It's kind of like saying, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go to court, but I'm not going to represent myself. I'm going to see if I can make a deal work with the other lawyer, because that's usually ends up well in my favor. Wrong. You couldn't be more wrong. So hey, I bought this house, but you didn't tell me that there was a meth lab in the basement, or I moved in and there were no appliances. Well, guess what? You never put in the appliances. You never said that you wanted a house that didn't have a meth lab, things like that, right? So the buyer agency rep was then created to represent the buyer. Wanted to make sure that the buyers were then on equal footing and were also winning, as opposed to the seller always winning. Now on the flip side, if I'm a listing agent on a property and somebody comes to me and says, hey, I want to buy this home, I don't have an agent, maybe we could work something out. First and foremost, my gut reaction is, gross. That's number one. Number two, we've already had a discussion in that case with the seller, and the conversation usually ends with, and we're gonna take their lunch money. Because guess what? I work for the seller, not for you. So it's incredibly important that you get your own buyer agent. And chances are that if you did buy through a listing agent in the past, I don't know what to tell you. You probably got taken for a ride. Now I know there's gonna be other agents that are gonna be watching this video, and some of you may disagree with me, and that's okay. Come at me, put it in the comments. Let's get a conversation started. This has been Haroon's Views.